All right, everyone. Good evening and welcome. I can see, okay, that's a comment from Rita. Okay, so let's ask the others to join. Yeah, welcome. Let's ask others on Telegram, on Discord. I'm sure most people are yet to join. So once is, maybe 8 minutes past 8, or let's say 10 minutes past 8, we can kick off. All right, so let's ask others to join in so that we can just, kick off with more numbers. Okay. Yeah, you can drop a message in the chat. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining again. It's another day to learn fundamentals of product management. All right, so welcome. Yeah, good evening, Seram, and good evening, Ghost Time. Okay, so I will just bring back the countdown. Right, waiting till we have more numbers joining. Okay. All right, so that was a lot of time waiting for others. All right, good evening, everyone. Good evening. Yeah, Leila, Adeni, God's time. Yes, good evening. So we're going to pick up from where we left off. We're going to be looking at Agile today. All right, but what I wanted to do before starting today's session is to spend at least 5 minutes, trying to basically take some questions, right? Um, I would say during the weekend, I got a couple of questions in my DM, and I think, we should probably take some questions from the previous session, right? For those of you that have watched, or probably maybe you couldn't join the session live, but you watched the recording on YouTube, or you followed some of the uploaded videos on Telegram and Discord. Yeah, I believe you probably have some questions. So we'll spend 5 minutes, right? Yeah, hopefully we don't go more than 5 minutes. Well, it depends. If you have, really interesting questions, I think you can throw them in the chat. Ask your questions in the chat so we can take them before we spend the next, I would say, maybe 20, 25 minutes with the class, right? With what we have, the topic we have today, which is Agile, Scrum, and Kanban. We're going to cover those topics, right? But yeah, go ahead and ask your questions, guys. All right. So I'll give us a few seconds or minutes to ask so that I can take them. I'm looking at the chat, so please drop your questions in there. Okay. Any questions you have around what we've learned so far, or maybe you have questions. Maybe you've been able to cover the curriculum ahead of us. It will be interesting to have others learn. Yeah, some of those things too. Okay. All right, I see we have more numbers joining the live session. So you can also drop a message so that I'll be sure, I have more people hearing me. Okay. Yeah. All right. So I'm waiting for those questions, guys. Let's drop them. I think it's going to be more like a pattern, right? Taking those questions first so that we don't just jump into the new topic when we are yet to explain some of the things you don't understand to you. Okay. Okay, so I can't see any questions. Is that your question? The Governor TV. Okay, anyways, okay, so I see we have more people joined. What we are doing is we're taking questions for 5 minutes, right? For those of you that are just joining the call, if you have any questions, go ahead and drop your questions in the chat, so we can take those questions before we start discussing what we are meant to discuss today. Okay, so drop your questions in the chat. I'll give us 2 more minutes. Yeah, 2 more minutes is fine, right? Nice to be here again. Okay. Yeah, nice to have you. We're going to be looking. All right. So I think I'll just proceed. Yeah, let's just, since no questions, my assumption now is that most of us understand what we are learning so far, right? There's no complexity so far. Okay, so that will be my assumption, and I think we can then jump into what we're meant to today. All right. So yeah, let's pay attention, and of course, as yeah, you can drop your questions as the class kicks off. Okay. So if you come across anything you don't understand, you can ask your question in the chat. Okay, let's go. So yeah, we're going to be looking at our week two curriculum. We're going to be looking at Agile, and within Agile, we're going to be discussing Scrum and Kanban. Okay. All right. So first, the question: what is Agile? I mean, a lot of people will definitely have questions around this. What exactly is Agile? Apart from giving you the definition, We're also going to explain, some of these things in details with, of course, scenarios. And, we have a couple of websites, that we have prepared to share with you here, right? Speaking about Agile and the Agile Manifesto on Atlassian, right? If you check out the Agile Coach, this material will be shared with you. It's an amazing material from Atlassian, right? With respect to creating agile teams and agile tutorials, conversations, agile marketing, design, agile at scale, Scrum, Kanban. We have a lot of materials here basically teaching agile. So we are going to share this with you. And yeah, the other one we are also going to share with you would be 12 principles behind Agile Manifesto. And this is from the Agile Alliance, right? So you can check out agilealliance.org. The link will be shared with you on Telegram as well for those of you that are in the community. So yeah, do well to check it out. Back to our material here. Agile is a philosophy centered around iterative development, customer collaboration, and rapid delivery. Two popular frameworks within Agile is Scrum and Kanban, and they are widely used by teams to manage and improve product development process. So basically, Agile is a mindset, right? It's a methodology and an approach. So that's one thing I want you guys to understand, right? It's an approach to managing projects and delivering products, particularly in software development, and it emphasizes flexibility. So I want us to focus on some of these key items here: flexibility, collaboration, rapid delivery, right? And continuous improvement. Very important. Okay. You're working on a project. Okay. How flexible are you as to, working with the requirements, making adjustments, switching from one, feature plan to a different plan, right? Collaboration. You have to collaborate with a lot of, stakeholders, product managers, designers. So looking at it from the angle of a product manager, you are working with multiple stakeholders. You have to keep up. You have to always keep up with, other stakeholders to ensure you are able to manage the process, effectively. You have to keep up with the engineers, to understand where they are, what they've done. You have to keep up with the designers. You have to keep up even with the business, of course, mostly with the business too, right? And yes, you have to also keep up with the customer sessions, trying to understand what the customer wants, right? You need to set a standard for what we call acceptance criteria. We'll discuss that as we progress through this training. Okay. All right. So Agile focuses on delivering value to customer quickly and iteratively, right? Allowing teams to adapt to change efficiently. Okay. And we have something we call the Agile Manifesto, which are the core philosophy behind Agile. So Agile originated from the Agile Manifesto, written by 17 software developers in 2001. And the manifesto defines 4 core values and 12 principles that guide Agile practices. Okay, so these are the core values. We have individuals and interactions over processes and tools, right? We should value individuals and the interactions we have around that, product development, within the team, over the processes and the tools. People at the heart of Agile. Good communication trumps rigid process. Okay, working software over comprehensive documentation. Yes, delivering value in the form of a functional product is prioritized. Okay, customer collaboration over contract negotiation. So close communication with customers ensures that the product meets their needs. Okay, responding to change over following a plan. So Agile encourages embracing change rather than rigidly following a preset plan. And this is the primary reason why we decided to move away from the waterfall model, which was I would say primarily one of the most adopted pattern before before a lot of people, a lot of companies transitioned into agile practices. Okay. All right. So what are the 12 principles of agile? Customer satisfaction through early and continuous delivery, welcoming changing requirements, even late in development, deliver working software frequently, right? Close collaboration between business stakeholders and developers, build projects around motivated individuals and trust them. So you see, we have a lot of items on the list here, 12 of them. And of course, we really have to read through these items to understand, the principles of Agile, right? Use face-to-face communication where possible for better clarity. I can't stress this enough, right? Working software is the primary measure of progress. correct, and maintain a sustainable pace to avoid burnout, and continuous attention to technical excellence and good design. Okay, simplicity, the art of maximizing work not done, is essential. Okay, teams self-organize and decide how best to accomplish their work. Very critical as well. Rather than avoiding the business tell you how to best deliver your work, it's better that the team is aligned on what they believe is better for them in terms of the delivery timeline and all that. Okay, regularly reflect on how to become more effective and adjust accordingly. Okay, so yes, I know I omitted some of them, but I would advise you read through the 12 principles again and again. Right, these are things you really need to know and understand. Okay, how Agile works in practice. So, Agile is not a single methodology, it's a collection of practices and frameworks such as Scrum, Kanban, Lean, and extreme programming. So teams adopting Agile follow iterative and incremental delivery cycles instead of delivering everything at once. So, let's discuss Scrum and how it works. Okay. So Scrum is an alternative framework that breaks complex projects into smaller, manageable tasks called sprints. Each sprint delivers a working product increment that allow for continuous feedback and improvement, and it's designed to help teams respond flexibly to change requirements. Okay, it's a framework, and it breaks down the project into smaller, manageable tasks called sprints. Okay, so some of these things are actually highlighted and bold. Try to remember these keywords, and these are things you need to understand. So the sprint is probably held maybe for like a week or more, depending on the complexity of the software or the solution being worked on. We have something called sprint planning, where the product manager and maybe architects or lead engineers work together to plan and basically create tasks within that sprint for the solution that is being worked on. Okay, so what are the key concepts of Scrum? Now let's take a look at some of these. For Scrum roles, we have the product owner, also known as the PO, who represents the customer and prioritizes the product backlog based on business value. All right, so the product backlog is a place where they put in, the request to say these are the things we want to do. Right, these are the fixes, these are the implementations, these are the updates. Right, all these things are in the backlog, and we basically get to take those items from the backlog and put them within these sprint tables, right? For the developers or designers who would be assigned to some of these tasks to see. Okay. All right. So we have scenarios here. So imagine a product owner working on an e-commerce platform. They prioritize features like search by category and one-click checkout for the next sprint based on user demands. Okay. Now, who is a Scrum Master? So a Scrum Master basically facilitates Scrum events and ensures the team follow the framework and remove obstacles. So basically, this is a role, right? This is a role you can even train to become a certified Scrum Master. What you do or what you learn to do is actually master the Scrum framework, and you are able to apply this into product development, and you are also able to manage product teams effectively. Okay. All right, so we have a scenario here. The Scrum Master ensures the team has everything they need and clears the blockers, like waiting on an API from a third-party vendor. The Scrum Master basically would reach out to that vendor to get the information that the team require to successfully implement that feature. Okay, then yes, we also have the development team, which of course is a cross-functional group responsible for delivering the product increment, and the team decides how to accomplish the sprint goals. Okay, so the sprint artifacts. I mentioned the product backlog earlier, so this is a simple explanation, right? A list of all desired features, fixes, and requirements prioritized by the product owner, that's the PO, right? So, for example, we have a list of features here. We have the user login feature, the product search, the customer review features, and the bug fix for payment processing if that has been implemented before. This is how they basically get to list out these items in the backlog until it's been assigned, or put into a sprint, basically. Okay, so a sprint backlog is now a subset of the product backlog selected for the sprint, which would contain its own, detailed set of tasks. All right. So, what is the increment? What do we mean by increment in this context of, a Scrum? Okay, so the working product delivered at the end of every sprint that adds value to the project is known as the increment. All right, so let's understand some of the details of a Scrum event. So yes, we have planning. Remember I mentioned that earlier. So you have the sprint planning where the team decides what backlog item they can complete in the sprint or should be added to the sprint. We have the daily Scrum meetings. So these are 15-minute meetings, or we call it stand-ups, basically stand-up meetings, where the team get to discuss what was done, what to be done, and if there are any blockers. So we have a scenario there, right? In a daily Scrum meeting, a developer mentions that they are waiting for an API key, which the Scrum Master resolves by contacting the vendor, right, to provide that API key for the developer. So yes, we have the sprint review. So at the end of every sprint, the team should come together to demonstrate the increments to stakeholders, right? They review and they showcase what they've done, right? That is the increment. The implementation at that moment is the increment. So they have to demonstrate that and show that to the project stakeholders, which can be a combination of maybe third-party customers, third parties, right? Or their customers, maybe some members of the business, right? So yeah, so stakeholders can be anybody that basically is part of that project or part of the product development process. Okay, so how does Scrum work? And here's an example scenario. So you have a team that is building a travel booking website, and they decide to break down this sprint. So we have just one sprint in our example, and this is the sprint one. This is their goal. They want to implement the user login and destination search feature. All right, so this is the sprint planning. The team breaks down the task. They have the task for designing the login UI, which of course will be assigned to a UI designer on the team. Setting up database authentication, which will be assigned to the backend engineer, and integrating such API for destination. Integration here will be handled by the front end guy. Okay. So during the sprint, the Scrum Master resolves a delay in receiving API documentation, which is of course API documentation coming from the backend to the front end. The Scrum Master helps in resolving that delay, and the team finishes tasks on time and demo the login feature during the sprint review. All right, so that's an easy example. Okay, so benefit of Scrum, of course, frequent feedbacks, very important. So regular demos provide quick feedback loops. Flexibility, sprints allow for adopting to change requirements, and transparency with the daily scrums and backlog providing visibility into the progress of each of the project stakeholders. Okay, so what is Kanban and how does it work? Now let's talk about the next thing we have here, which is Kanban. All right, so a Kanban is a visual framework used to manage work in progress, right? So by moving tasks through different stages on a board, the goal is to improve efficiency, to reduce bottlenecks, and ensure continuous delivery. All right. So what are the core principles of Kanban? By the way, we actually have some tools you can use to check this out. I'm going to show us an example with some tool. I'm going to be showing us an example with a tool called plain.so. You have Kanban view on so many tools such as Jira. What else? Yeah, I think Asana. Even on Notion here, you actually have Kanban view. Trello, yeah, Trello is a good one. Plain.so, which is what I'm going to be showing us very soon. We have a lot of tools actually. Monday.com. I know there are so many tools used for tracking tasks with the Kanban framework. Okay, let's just move on. It's a visual framework used for managing work in progress by moving tasks through different stages on the board. So you have like multiple items or multiple sections on the board from to do or not started to ongoing to completed to review to done, right? So you can have multiple sections depending on how the product manager prefers to actually track the tasks. Okay, so let's talk about the core principles of Kanban. First, it's a visualized workflow, right? So the tasks are represented on the Kanban board with columns showing each stage of the process, right? So in a software development team, columns could be to do, in progress, code review, done, right? So these are kind of like the stages, and you would have that in columns, right? I'll show you an example. Okay, so all right, so it actually limits the section work in progress, and each stage has a WIP, we call it a WIP, which is work in progress. It has a WIP limit to prevent overload. All right. You can actually manage the flow easily, so the team focus on keeping tasks moving smoothly from one column to the next, and explicit process policies. So it has a clear guideline, and yeah, you basically so clear guidelines are set on how tasks should be managed and how tasks should flow. All right, and yeah, implement feedback loops. So teams are regular. So teams would use regular reviews to improve process and flow. Right. So how does the Kanban board work? Okay, so we have an example, a content creation team for a marketing campaign using a Kanban board. So they can have multiple columns to do writing, editing, and published columns. And of course, they have a WIP limit, ensuring that they can only assign 2 tasks at a time, right? Yeah, so they can have a limited task. So here they have, the writing should be 2 tasks maximum, and editing can be 3 tasks maximum. Okay. So these are the tasks they have in the to-do: write blog posts, create social media content, and design newsletter. And yeah, so they are able to actually manage those tasks by simply looking at it through the Kanban view. And as they do their work, they move it from one stage to the other. Okay. Right. By the way, these are the columns: to do, writing, editing, and published. So they can simply take the item from to do, write a blog, put it up here to show that they are writing. When they are done, put it here for another person to pick it up and start editing. When they are done, they publish and they put it in the last section there. So yes, it's a good way of tracking tasks actually. Okay, so how work progresses. A writer picks up the task, write the blog post, and moves it to the writing column. When the draft is complete, the task is moved to editing, which is exactly what I just explained. And if the WIP limit is reached, it must wait until another task is published. All right, so we have a scenario here. You can basically take a look at that. I've given an example already. How to choose between Scrum and Kanban. All right, so you can choose Scrum if you need a structured sprint with fixed goals, or if you want to work with predictable timelines for delivery, or your team prefers time box planning and retrospectives. Okay, so choose a Kanban if you need a continuous delivery and flexibility, or if you want to visualize and improve flow without strict rules, or your team handles tasks of varying sizes without fixed iterations. Okay, so the benefit of Kanban would include flow, right? Because you can focus on moving tasks smoothly through each stage. The flexibility, because teams can add new tasks at any time, and better focus, because when you have those WIP limits, it will prevent multitasking and encourage focus. All right, so the next thing we have here will be the difference the difference between Kanban and Scrum. All right, so both Kanban and Scrum are agile frameworks, of course, like I've mentioned before. They differ in their structure, the workflow, and the approach to managing work. So right here we have a table that shows a detailed comparison across various aspects. So I'm not going to go through every single one of them. I want you guys to actually look at that instead. The aspects as regards the nature of the work. So for Scrum, it's iterative, and it uses a time box sprints, right? And for Kanban, it's continuous without a set sprint duration. Work can simply flow continuously. What I've seen a lot of teams do is to merge, right? They get to follow Scrum practices, while also maintaining the Kanban board, which is great. A lot of teams I know, do this, right? I do it myself, with my team. So yeah, it's a great option. So yeah, in terms of the working plan, the workflow visualization, the setting WIP limits and stuff, setting up team roles and assigning tasks, right? The delivery frequency, flexibility, the feedback, the performance metrics. These are different aspects where you can find at least different patterns or style as to whether you are using Scrum or Kanban. You get to follow, you get to experience these frameworks from these various aspects. All right, so I would advise you look through this table, and we actually have detailed explanations for each of these options that we've shared here, right? With of course with scenarios. Okay, so check this out. We have example scenarios we've shared with you as well. And yeah, I mean, as for whether Kanban or Scrum, in terms of choosing the option that is right for your team, it actually depends. So yeah, I would love you to read through this material here to see if you run a software development team, you would most likely prefer to go with the Scrum because of the predictable delivery schedules and the clear sprint goals. If you operate a support team, the Kanban option will probably be better for managing ongoing tasks like tickets or incidents without time box sprints, right? If you run a startup, you may start with Kanban for flexibility and then move to Scrum as the product roadmap becomes clearer. Okay, so yes, that's what we are covering for today's session. Sample board. Let's take a look at the board we have here. So when I click on this, you see I have what we call the issues, right? The issues are basically, these tasks that we are creating. We call them the issues. So these are issues, and we can assign these issues to people, right? Our teammates. So you see, we have someone here we have assigned this to. This is me, right? And I've been assigned to this, which I've completed, right? I just completed that not quite long. Um, which I've completed, but I actually forgot to move out of here because you see, we have a due date of October 12th. So I can actually move this down to this section, which is done, right? And that is completed. Okay, so this is a Kanban view. All right, this is a Kanban view. And of course, I can switch the views. So this is a backlog. This is the backlog I'm actually looking at. And yeah, I can basically look at this using a calendar layout as well. So these are different views that we can use. We have the timeline layout, right? We have the table layout as well, but this is the Kanban layout. Okay, when I hover on this, you see I have board layout. This is the Kanban, and of course we can create more columns. We have the backlog, we have to do, we have in progress, we have done. All right, so that is it. Thanks for yeah, okay, that is it. Okay, that is it. So go through the materials we share. Thanks. All right. Okay, guys. So I think if you have questions, right, you can definitely share questions in the chat. I see a lot of people join in late, right? A lot of people join the session late, but of course, you can always come back, to watch this, recorded session, right? So someone is asking, Adeni Ye is asking, is there no attendance for tonight? So I think maybe the moderators, forgot to share that. Yeah, please, can we get a sample of the board? Well, what you have to do, God's time, is to sign up on either of these platforms I mentioned, right? I said Trello. Trello, you can just download it, right? Just download Trello on your laptop if you're using a Windows machine, Mac OS, or even I think Trello should be available on Linux as well. Whichever operating system you use, I think is most likely I believe most of us here, probably more than 80% would be using Windows. You can download Trello from the Microsoft Store, create an account, and just set up a board, right? It's if you need sample like a tutorial or something, I can share some YouTube video links with you guys. But we also have videos where we've actually taught how to use most of these tools, right? JetBrains Space, Jira, I think even Asana. Yeah, I think so. So let me share one of those videos here on the call. Let me see. If I go to the Top Universe YouTube channel, and if you're not subscribed, I think this is a good time for you to subscribe. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen again. Although I can't remember the specific. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure I can remember the name of that video, but I'm sure if you search. So let's see. Okay, I think what do I need to search for? Product management, Asana. Let's just say Asana. I can search in here, right? Asana. Oh, okay. So this is from one of our previous cohort program. From 1 year ago, and this is Sajid. So yeah, I think Sajid actually taught how to use Asana, and I'm sure we also have videos where we've taught how to use Trello, Notion. So you see, we have a video here from this is from what's his name? Mr. Fega, right? Mr. Chris Fega. So he taught how to use Trello. We have even more videos, right? Teaching how to use Trello. So if I should search for Trello right here, I believe, yeah. So you see Jira and Trello workshop. So I think this class was from me a year ago. This first one, Trello, was from Chris Fega 2 years ago, right? And I believe we have more, right? You see, we have the core two product management playlist. There is a collection of videos, right? Also covering some of the things we're covering in this cohort. So you can always just go into this playlist and watch some of these video recordings, right? How to use Slack, yeah, how to use Jira. This is from oh, this is 1 month ago. Okay. Yeah, this is 1 month ago. I think this is okay, I think this is the UI UX training, right? Introduction to, yeah, yeah, agile development. So you see, we actually have other videos as well. 1 year ago. Yeah, we would have to share some of these materials, with you guys. Agile methodologies. These are, amazing instructors that were brought on board to actually teach how to use some of these tools. Okay, so we're going to do that. This is a Okay, so we'd actually have to share this material with you. So I would share this on with the mods, and they will share it on Telegram and on Discord. So you just have to make sure you are active. Okay, you just have to make sure you are active. Yeah. All right. So I don't think we have any other questions. If you have more questions, do well to bring it to the community server on Discord and Telegram. With that said, I think we can have a wonderful evening. Yeah. Good night, guys. And thanks for joining once again. All right.